Behind the glittering surface of Hollywood, with its whirlwind romances, extravagant weddings, and perfect couples lurks a far darker reality. Betrayal, infidelity, addiction, violence, and bitter divorces. Love stories that once captivated the world often collapsed into tragedy, leaving scars on both the personal lives and professional legacies of the stars. These so-called dream marriages became nightmares at the very heart of the film capital. Nicolas Cage, one of the most eccentric and rebellious actors in Hollywood, is famous not only for his acting talent, but also for his tumultuous love life. In 2019, he surprised the public again when he suddenly registered his marriage with Erica Koik, a little-known makeup artist. The location was none other than Las Vegas, the city of endless fun, impulsive decisions, and also the place that has witnessed many quick marriages of celebrities. According to the story, their wedding ceremony had a typical Las Vegas style: hasty, noisy, not carefully prepared, and above all drunk. Nicolas Cage, with his rebellious personality, rushed into the decision to get married like a sudden gamble, not unlike the reckless roles he had played on the silver screen. At that moment, it seemed that he believed that a flash of love could turn into a long-term commitment. However, just 4 days later, Cage filed for an annulment. The reason he gave was shocking when he signed the marriage certificate. He was too drunk and not sober enough to realize the consequences. The media immediately reported it, turning the incident into one of the shortest and most scandalous marriages in Hollywood history. Many people ridiculed this as nothing more than a farce by a star who was used to making strange decisions. The 4-day marriage to Erica Koik was quickly erased from the legal records, but its echoes still linger in Nicolas Cage's turbulent personal life. For an actor who rose to the top of fame, won an Oscar, and then repeatedly fell due to wrong decisions, this story only reinforced the image of a talented but unstable star. Marriage cannot be a gamble when drunk. An impulsive decision, even if it only lasts a few days, can leave regret and a stain on a lifetime. For Nicolas Cage, those 4 short days became a symbol of needless recklessness, something that even a screen legend could not save. Robin Givens and Mike Tyson entered marriage as a charismatic power couple in the late 1980s. Tyson, then the undefeated boxer, dominated the ring with his destructive power, while Robin Givens was a young actress famous for her intelligent and sharp beauty. In 1988, they held a wedding in the astonishment of the public. Many believed that this would be a golden marriage between sports and cinema, but their marriage quickly turned into a nightmare. After only a few months, rumors of domestic violence, Tyson's hot temper and erratic temperament began to appear. The climax was a shocking live interview on national television. Robin Givens sat next to Tyson, frankly describing her marriage as torture, while Tyson, the man who once terrified opponents in the ring, sat silently right next to him. The image immediately became a symbol of a relationship full of cracks and crises. Just 1 year after the wedding, Robin Givens filed for divorce. The separation was quick but left serious consequences. Tyson's reputation was damaged, and Robin was left with deep psychological scars. Fear had crept too deeply into their life together, and it showed a harsh truth. Love and fear cannot coexist in marriage. The story of Robin Givens, Mike Tyson ended quickly, but its echoes are still recalled as a typical example of toxic marriages. When fear becomes the center, love, no matter how strong, has no place to exist. Khloe Kardashian and Lamar Odom were once considered one of Hollywood's most unexpected yet captivating couples. They met in 2009, and after only a few weeks of dating, shocked the world when they decided to hold a lavish wedding that was broadcast live on the show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians. To the audience, it seemed like a modern-day fairy tale. A globally famous reality TV star and a talented NBA basketball star. In the early years, Khloe and Lamar became one of the most watched couples in American entertainment. They even had their own show, Khloe Lamar, where the public witnessed their everyday moments. Khloe was devoted to her husband from basketball games to when Lamar's career began to decline. But the longer they were together, the more she had to face the dark corners: addiction, lies, and infidelity. Lamar got into drugs, often disappearing for long nights, leaving Khloe frustrated and hurt. Rumors of extramarital affairs grew and trust in the marriage gradually depleted. The climax of the tragedy came in 2015 when Lamar Odom was found unconscious in a Nevada brothel due to a stimulant overdose. That image not only shocked the whole of America, but also became the end of the marriage. Khloe, although still standing up to take care of treatment and support, Odom's recovery was finally forced to admit love, no matter how great, cannot save a person who does not want to change, Khloe Kardashian. And Lamar Odom's marriage ended with many regrets, but also left a clear lesson. Sacrifice and unconditional love are still meaningless if the person involved does not know how to preserve and fight for themselves. Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck were once hailed as one of Hollywood's golden couples. They met on the set of Pearl Harbor and reunited in Daredevil, and love blossomed from there. In 2005, they held a simple but sweet wedding, then welcomed 3 children, creating a happy standard family image that the public admired. Over the years, Garner and Affleck have been seen as symbols of lasting love in the turbulent world of showbiz. But behind the perfect picture are irreparable cracks. Ben Affleck, despite being a talented actor with 2 Oscars, had to deal with a long-term alcohol addiction and a series of rumors of infidelity. His relapses, the images of his decline recorded by paparazzi, gradually turned into wounds that could not be hidden. Jennifer Garner tried many times to save him, took her husband to rehab, stood behind him, and hoped he would find balance again. She once admitted that her love for Affleck was real, but not enough to heal a man who did not want to change. In 2015, after 10 years of living together, they announced their separation. The divorce was not noisy with back-and-forth words because Garner chose to remain kind and respectful despite her broken heart. She always hoped Affleck would recover, but at the same time affirmed that love does not mean staying in pain. The story of Jennifer Garner. Ben Affleck ended with many regrets, but also left a profound message: you can care and wish the best for your ex. But love does not mean having to trade your own freedom and happiness, because sometimes the greatest courage is knowing when to leave. Sofia Vergara and Joe Manganiello were once considered one of the most glamorous couples in Hollywood. They met in 2014, quickly fell in love, and just 1 year later held a lavish wedding in Florida. The image of the Modern Family actress walking next to the muscular actor of Magic Mike made the public believe that this was a perfect love story, a perfect match in terms of beauty status and reputation. For many years, the two often appeared together at major events, exchanging loving glances, creating the feeling that nothing could separate them. But behind that splendor were differences that gradually became irreconcilable. Sofia, who already had a son and was entering a stable stage of her life, no longer prioritized having more children. Joe, on the other hand, longed to build a larger family with children they would raise together. The difference in life goals, especially when it came to starting a family, increasingly became a distance. Even though the love is still there, when the paths of 2 people are no longer in the same direction, the relationship is difficult to maintain. In 2023, Sofia Vergara and Joe Manganiello officially announced their divorce ending nearly a decade together. Their story is proof that sometimes love, no matter how beautiful and passionate, is not enough to keep a marriage. Because marriage is not only about passion, but also about consensus about the future. And when 2 people no longer share the same vision, love is forced to stop. Kelsey Grammer and Camille Grammer were once considered a prominent couple in Hollywood's elite. Kelsey, a legendary TV star with a role in Frasier, married Camille in 1997, and for many years they lived a lavish life with a magnificent mansion, luxury travel, and 2 children together. In front of the camera, the family appeared like a dream that many admired. But everything began to change when Camille accepted to participate in the reality TV show, The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, in 2010. While the cameras recorded Camille's perfect life, Kelsey secretly started a new relationship with flight attendant Kate Walsh. The betrayal not only took place behind his wife's back, but also in parallel with the scenes broadcast around the world, turning this marriage into a bitter public drama. Eventually, the truth came out. Kelsey went public with her new relationship and quickly divorced Camille just a year later. The breakup was not only a personal shock, but also a tabloid sensation as everyone witnessed it unfold almost live on television. Camille openly expressed her hurt, while Kelsey coolly moved on, even remarrying Kate Walsh shortly after the divorce was finalized. The Kelsey Grammer Camille. Grammer's story is a prime example of the cruelty of public infidelity, while betrayal behind closed doors is painful. Betrayal in front of television cameras in front of millions of viewers is even more bitter. It proves that the glamour of reality TV can expose the deepest cracks in a marriage, and once the truth is exposed, there is no going back. Ellen DeGeneres and Heche had one of the most high-profile love affairs of the late 1990s. When they went public with their relationship in 1997, they became the focus of every newspaper as this was one of the first prominent same-sex relationships in American entertainment. The two appeared hand-in-hand at major events, even walking the red carpet together at the Emmy Awards, a groundbreaking image at a time when acceptance of same-sex love was still full of prejudice. To many, Ellen and Anne were symbols of courage willing to challenge social norms to live their true selves. However, the spotlight both helped them become the center of attention and accidentally burned their relationship. The pressure from the media was too great. The gossip, criticism, and constant scrutiny made both of them increasingly exhausted. Heche, who had already struggled with mental health issues and a traumatic childhood, began to exhibit erratic behavior that added to the strain on the relationship. Ellen, meanwhile, faced a wave of backlash that directly affected her career as many producers turned their backs on her after she went public. After only 3 years in 2000, that groundbreaking love story ended in regret. Ellen and Anne no longer walked the same path of love, and both had to go through their own periods of depression. For Ellen, this was a great challenge, but also the motivation to later become one of the most powerful faces on American television. For Anne, it was a deep emotional wound in an already turbulent life. The story of Ellen DeGeneres and Heche shows that the spotlight can turn a love story into an icon, but it can also quickly burn it down, because love, when placed under too much pressure from public opinion and unhealed personal wounds, can hardly stand firm for long. Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey were once the golden couple of American pop music in the early 2000s. She was a pop princess with a sexy appearance and sweet voice, and he was a member of the famous band 98 Degrees. They married in 2002, and just 1 year later, they both participated in the reality TV show Newlyweds Nick and Jessica. The show quickly became a phenomenon, turning them into one of the most sought-after couples at that time. The audience was fascinated by every moment of their daily lives, from Jessica's famously innocent conversations to Nick's teasing. However, it was the spotlight of reality TV that caused the marriage to fall apart. What was initially considered entertainment gradually turned into pressure when every little detail of their married life was made public and scrutinized. The difference in personalities: Jessica was youthful and impulsive, while Nick was calm and mature, became increasingly obvious. As Jessica's fame grew, the ego and imbalance between the two deepened the gap. By 2005, after 3 years of marriage, Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey officially announced their divorce. Both later admitted that letting the cameras intrude too deeply into their private lives was a mistake. The TV show that once turned them into a beloved couple across America eventually became the cause of their love's rapid collapse. The story of Jessica Simpson. Nick Lachey is proof that fame can bring a relationship to the top, but can also destroy it. Because marriage needs privacy and balance, it cannot exist when the ego and curiosity of the public intrudes too deeply. Eva Longoria and Tony Parker were once considered one of the most beautiful couples to combine Hollywood and sports. The Desperate Housewives actress met the NBA star in 2004, and just 2 years later, the two were engaged. The 2007 wedding took place at a magnificent castle in Paris, covered in flashbulbs from the press, as if to confirm that this was a true fairy tale love story between the silver screen and the court. The public believed that they were born to be together, a successful TV star and a top athlete with a brilliant career. However, behind that perfect shell were unusual signs. Eva, sensitive and delicate, began to realize that Tony often kept his phone with him. Hyper-vigilant with every text message, suspicions grew. And finally, the truth was revealed. Eva discovered a series of cheating text messages between Tony Parker and the wife of a teammate on the team. The shock was not only emotional betrayal, but also public humiliation as everything quickly spread through the media. There was no room for forgiveness. Eva Longoria immediately filed for divorce in 2010, ending the marriage after only 3 bitter years. In later interviews, she admitted that she was deeply hurt, but also learned to stand up stronger from the betrayal. The story of Eva Longoria. Tony Parker became a typical example that betrayal can end love immediately, because a person who has the habit of hiding his phone will often hide more than just messages that is the truth that the other person should have seen very early. Brooke Shields and Andre Agassi were once considered a power couple, combining Hollywood and sports. The beautiful actress beauty icon of the 1980s and the world's top tennis star officially married in 1997 after a long period of romantic love. To the public, it was the perfect picture, a silver screen star and a sports champion, fame and love combined. However, behind the halo, the marriage was eroded by dark secrets. Andre Agassi later admitted in his memoir that during the time he lived with Brooke, he was addicted to crystal meth. That decline not only affected his career, but also poisoned the relationship between husband and wife. Agassi became erratic, easily angered, and jealous for no reason. Once losing control, he smashed the entire display case of his championship trophies just to vent his anger, leaving a haunting impression on both of them. Brooke Shields, despite trying to maintain her marriage, gradually realized that love could not save a man who was destroying himself. The secrets, lies, and lack of control from Agassi exhausted her. After only 2 years in 1999, the marriage ended. The story of Brooke Shields and Andre Agassi is a clear proof that marriages are not only broken by superficial differences, but sometimes destroyed by the deepest secrets. When the truth is hidden for too long, it becomes a double-edged sword, silently destroying all trust from within. Mariah Carey and Tommy Mottola are a clear example of the dangerous intersection between power and love. When she was in her early 20s, Carey was still a young singer with no place in the world. Mottola, the music mogul and chairman of Sony Music, discovered her natural talent and supported her from the very beginning of her career. Under his powerful hand, Mariah Carey quickly became a top star with a series of chart-topping hits and the title of a new generation pop diva. In 1993, the two entered a lavish marriage in a large mansion that was likened to a fairy tale castle. To the public, it seemed like the perfect combination, a powerful music mogul and a rising star. But the reality was much darker. Tommy Mottola was not only a husband, but also the person who controlled almost all of Carey's life. From her career, her friends, to every step in her private life. Everything was under strict supervision. Carey once described this marriage as living in a gilded prison where she had everything material but lacked freedom and happiness. Over time, the suffocation became more and more unbearable. Mariah Carey longed to escape the gilded cage to live her true self. After many years of suffering, she finally decided to end the marriage in 1997, stepping out of Mottola's powerful shadow to regain her freedom. The story of Mariah Carey, Tommy. Mottola shows a bitter truth. Success, fame, and patronage can take you to the top, but if it means losing your freedom, then it is all just a gilded prison. And love, when it becomes a tool of control, is no longer love. Kris Jenner and Caitlyn Jenner were once the foundations of the Kardashian-Jenner empire, one of America's most famous families. They married in 1990, one shortly after Kris split from her first husband, Robert Kardashian. Over the next 2 decades, Kris and Caitlyn raised 4 children together, Kendall and Kylie Jenner, along with their own children from previous marriages. On the reality TV show Keeping Up with the Kardashians, their large, charismatic family image became a trademark, bringing them fame and fortune. However, behind that seemingly stable appearance was a simmering turmoil. Caitlyn, then still known as Bruce Jenner, had to live with internal conflict for years, hiding her desire to live her true gender. Kris, meanwhile, became a tough manager, controlling not only their career, but also their family image. Resentment built up. And by the time Caitlyn came out as transgender in 2015, the 2-decade marriage had officially collapsed. What was shocking was not just the divorce, but also the way the story was exposed to the public. Caitlyn recounted her bitter experiences in her memoir and in the media, while Kris openly expressed her hurt and anger on television. The truth that had been hidden for too long finally exploded, turning this marriage into one of the most dramatic breakups in Hollywood. The story of Kris Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner is a clear proof that secrets cannot protect a relationship, because when the truth is buried for too long, when it emerges, the pain and loss will be many times greater. And a marriage, no matter how strong, the family background and wealth cannot survive without honesty from the beginning. Burt Reynolds and Lonnie Anderson were considered one of the hottest couples of the 1980s. Burt was a Hollywood hunk, a masculinity icon, with a string of hit action and comedy films, while Lonnie was a beloved TV star with a glamorous presence on WKRP in Cincinnati. When they married in 1988, the media called it Hollywood's dream wedding, a marriage of movie charm and TV beauty. But that dream quickly turned into a public nightmare. Within a few years, the marriage began to unravel due to differences in personality, lifestyle, and the pressures of fame. Burt Reynolds grew increasingly distant, while Lonnie felt abandoned. When they separated, allegations of infidelity and financial disputes immediately exploded and were thoroughly exploited by the tabloids. Burt even publicly criticized Lonnie in the media, accusing her of being greedy for money, while Lonnie fought back, talking about Burt's betrayal and lack of care. The official divorce in 1993 became one of the most scandalous Hollywood breakups of that time. The media exploited every detail, turning the already painful story into a public drama in front of millions of viewers. Burt later admitted that the divorce with Lonnie was one of the mistakes he regretted the most in his life. The Burt Reynolds-Lonnie Anderson story shows a harsh truth. When love breaks up, bringing everything to the public light does not ease the pain, but only deepens the wounds. The more public, the more painful it becomes, and the once glorious image of the golden couple of the 80s is finally left in the echoes of scandal. Scarlett Johansson and Ryan Reynolds were once one of the couples that Hollywood admired. When they went public with their relationship in 2007, they immediately became the center of attention. Two A-list stars, both possessing beauty talent and brilliant careers. A year later, they secretly held a wedding in Canada, so private that the media was almost completely out of reach. The public believed that this would be one of the longest-lasting marriages because both seemed to want to keep their love away from public noise. However, the reality was completely different. Scarlett Johansson and Ryan Reynolds were both at the peak of their careers, constantly busy with big projects and packed schedules around the world. The long distance turned into a void in the relationship. Not only that, when both were at the top, hidden competition and career jealousy began to creep in. Scarlett later frankly admitted that fame and the pressure of the spotlight made their love more tense. Instead of connecting, Ryan also shared that they could not find a balance between work and marriage. After only 2 years, in 2010, the two announced their divorce to the regret of their fans. There was no big scandal, no harsh attacks. Simply, the two stars could not reconcile fame and love. The short-lived marriage of Scarlett Johansson and Ryan Reynolds showed a harsh truth. Love needs balance and sharing, not a hidden competition, because the halo, if not controlled, can become a blinding light that overshadows private happiness. Mel B, former member of the legendary Spice Girls, once made the public believe that she had found new happiness when she married producer Stephen Belafonte in 2007. On the surface, they appeared like a power couple, always accompanying each other at entertainment events, appearing to be close and successful. But behind that flashy shell was a dark reality that lasted nearly a decade. According to Mel B, this marriage was a series of days of abuse and manipulation. She said that Stephen controlled almost every aspect of her life, from her career, finances, to her personal relationships. The singer repeatedly alluded to being physically and mentally abused, isolated from friends and family, and even forced into situations where she had to keep quiet out of fear. While the public saw the image of a happy family behind the door, Mel B had to live in constant obsession. The marriage eventually collapsed in 2017 when Mel B filed for divorce. The legal process became a bitter battle, exposing allegations of abuse, financial manipulation, and years of emotional trauma. The divorce was shocking, not only because of Mel B's celebrity, but also because it exposed the dark side that lurked beneath the seemingly perfect aura. Mel B and the Stephen Belafonte story became a clear example. A true partner never makes you silent in fear, because true love is a place where you are protected and respected, not a golden cage that imprisons your spirit and freedom. Sometimes the truth is darker than fiction, and what you've just seen is only the tip of the iceberg. Who do you think is still hiding shocking secrets? Drop their name in the comments, and they might be featured in our next video. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell, because even crazier twists are coming your way. See you soon, and remember, in showbiz, the drama never sleeps.